Hello, and welcome back to the Future Ventures Scaling with Clarity podcast. Today, with us, we have Debneel. Debneel is an investor and operator with a track record that spans banking, startups, and global venture capital. Over the years, he's been involved in scaling companies, backing high growth startups, and seen multiple exits, including IPOs and acquisitions. He prides himself on not following the pack, looking beyond the obvious, and not being afraid of traveling the lonely roads that comes with that. What's interesting about his perspective is that it's not built purely from the venture side. He's operated inside businesses, worked through capital constraints, and developed a clearer point of view on what actually makes a company foundable and what doesn't. Today, we're going to unpack how he thinks about founders, timing, and the inflection points that turn a company from an idea into something investors will actually back. Welcome to the stage, Debneel. Just
Hello.
for our listeners and viewers, can you please tell us how to pronounce your last name and where you're calling from today?
Oh, great. So I thought my last name is easy to pronounce. It's
Mukherjee?
Mukherjee.
Okay.
Yeah. So that if
Mu-
you take three letters at a time, Mukh, Har, and then G. I
okay.
thought it's the
Okay.
first name that's difficult, but then the first name you got it spot on.
Okay.
Yeah. And today I'm from my home base at Singapore. But then, as you know, in my fund, we have the tagline which we call "The world is our oyster," and we truly
Yeah.
believe in it.
Yeah.
So we just need to be in one place, but then we go after the best in class wherever
Yeah.
they are,
Nice.
because this is the one time and tide, and we have to make the most of it in one life that we have.
Beautiful.
And that probably beats the first cliche of venture investing. We don't
Yeah.
focus in the 100-mile radius from our base, and
That's
that's where
correct.
most of our portfolio today are global and mostly in United States of America.
Okay, so let's double click on it. So how did you end up from India into Singapore, and what was your journey into venture?
Oh, wow. Okay. So it started at a very different place. But then when I look back, I think I see that there's an invisible hand that has always played in and put me at the right boxes in the chessboard. So I started off as a CPA, so a finance professional, and then went and joined uh, uh, a wholesome bank, a full-fledged financial institution, so a fintech play, and that's where they were then introducing technology.
Okay.
And I had done many midnight oil as a rookie, dirty my fingers to learn technology by
Yeah.
self-teaching technology to myself. So
Yeah.
that's where my journey started, professional career started, writing programs and writing software commands to execute softwares that were written by programmers and they needed to be
Yeah.
moved in and out of the business environment.
But
So
Debneel, you're
that
a
gave me
CPA
an
like myself.
understanding that, yeah,
You're a CPA like myself. You self-taught yourself how to program and code?
yes. And it was
Okay.
not because I wanted to. As I said, I was forced to
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I had to save my job.
Yeah.
I was, as a CPA, as a business analyst, I was put into something where I had to write programs, I had to weight programs, I had to understand why the program is not
Hmm.
working or why
Hmm.
it's working wrongly.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned. And then very soon I realized that change is the only constant and technology is the bellwether of change.
Yeah.
And that's where, I slowly got mutated or morphed into doing everything that is around technology.
Hmm.
And for all these 28, 30 years of my career, I have since only followed on one mantra, that is technology and innovations led by technology.
Yeah.
So that actually brought me to, again, now on top of that, if you layer on the contrarism that you introduced me with, being looking, so very early in my life, I've always somehow been wired in my brain that obvious has no value. Crowded space has zero value. So we have to always look above and beyond the obvious.
Yep.
And that will mean that you are in lonely roads that are seldom traveled, but you cannot be afraid of those.
Yep.
The whole art is not staying with the herd, but breaking out of the herd, getting out of the beaten path, and then going into places where you have to be a contrarian, but right.
Yeah.
Because this contrarianism has no value. You have to be also at the right time and tight.
Yeah.
So end of the day, it is again one life. Either you use it or you lose it. So I better try something and fail. Rather than at the age of 80, I look back to my life, that one life that I had, and then regret for not trying so many things which I wanted to. So that has been the entire thought process. And so even today, right from the very beginning, I always been looking to try something new.
Yeah.
And looking to try something that new, that works, that is incremental, that is value accretive, and so on and so forth. And that's what brought me to Singapore. And then from here, so those days I was an operator. And then the operation somehow went literally through the roof, landed me into a top quartile, got me a good exit. And that's where I decided now it's time to change gears.
Nice.
Instead of being an operator, why not I find people who are better than me as operators and try to see if I can give them, I join their journey and give them some money, which could then turn me into an investor. And that's the same.
Fund, Debneel? Like, when did you raise your fund? When did you exit?
Yeah. So the current one is somewhere around 2018 is when we started off. Initially, before that, it was mostly my own money and then mostly bootstrapped. And then it was friend, family monies that came in. And then it was word of mouth. And that's how it went on going. But from the very beginning, when I started my investing journey, I had always been very keen to be disruptive.
Yes.
Because I wanted to invest in disruptive innovation. And then I thought that then the whole platform, the vehicle, the medium, the thought process, the narrative, everything has to be disruptive. We cannot follow what everybody else is doing in private tech investing. And that's where we started off. I started off with some of the main differentiators that would make me stand out of the crowd. And one such thing was like, as I said, wherever the best, we have to go there. We can't say that we will be doing just 100-mile radius, which was a big narrative of our industry. The second thing that we looked at is that, we have to essentially, I wanted to democratize private tech investing for our LPs or investors. Why? Because it was abundantly clear to me by then that tech, and particularly private tech, is where most of the value is getting backed. And therefore, if somebody has to make real generational wealth creation, one has to go, and that too with a small amount of capital, one has to look for multiplier effect. And that multiplier effect can only come when you are not just patient capital, but you are able to come in at a very early stage. And that's where, I had this thing that I will not take institutional money. Also, I wanted to be an unconstrained manager. I did not wanted somebody who write me a big check and then sit on my board and then tell me how to invest, where to invest. And from there, it also came to me is that if I have to get outstanding results, then I have to go after outstanding opportunities.
Yeah.
And those opportunities will be all over the place. And by then, technology luckily has made the world flat for us. I even read the Thomas Friedman book, The World is Flat, somewhere during my operator days, and I was very impressed with it. Then I also saw Software is Eating Our World from Mike Anderson. And then these are things, I mean, throughout these journeys, a lot of the reading that I have done also helped me shape my narrative and my thought process. And that's how I landed up with this and started investing. And in these 7-8 years, this is where we are. Almost like 85% of the portfolio is in United States of America, because most of the disruptive work is happening there. And again, in that, what we are essentially looking at, if you see the technology-led innovation has been disrupting some existing large market opportunities. Some of those are existing, but most of them are newly enabled. So one of the cornerstone of our investing thesis is how to go after those opportunities which are new market opportunities, which are getting newly enabled. And the conviction comes from the fact that if you see, America is just about 27-28% of the world economy. But in MSCI, they are almost like 70+%. And within that 70%, if you see the Magnificent Seven, they are almost like a whopping 67%, 2/3. And if you look at each of these Magnificent Seven, plus the other trillion-dollar companies, which are not yet Magnificent Seven, but they are trillion-dollar companies of our world, all of them today are American and tech. Each one of them, if you go back at their infancy and their formative years, they were dabbling on businesses that did not exist.
New model creation, new industry creation, for sure. I mean, what is your take now? You said that you read Mark Andreessen's essay on software is eating the world. Now, the Max 7 over the last week have come down by as much as 10-15%. And so we're seeing the kind of the opposite sentiment that software or SaaS software is dead. What's your perspective on software, on technology, and what's your deal flow process? How do you go about identifying companies that they're in the space of creating new industries and new markets rather than improving on existing ones?
Yeah. So first of all, maybe I take that question into two parts. I'll go to the deal flow later. Sure. It's more operational. First, let me take the software, and although software eats our world is now no longer, pundits will say is no longer valid, because software is not, AI is eating the software. So let's go to AI. And let's address the whole issue of AI. So what I see is basically two schools of thoughts. That's where the whole world can be, mostly 90% of the world, the crowded space can be categorized. One is saying that this says something we have never seen before.
Of course.
This is going to be so disruptive. It will dislocate all of us. Our jobs will be gone, especially the white-collared ones. And it's going to become a very difficult world where we are going to see hyperinflation and joblessness and so on and so forth. And then there is another set of people who are trying to say AI is all bullshit. So all this while they were talking of agentic AI, they were talking of AI will do every work for us, robots will be our new companions in our homes, and we will not need our pets. It will be robotic pets who will be working as as the next generation of pets. We don't have to take to vets and all, but then nothing of these has happened. So these are all a few people just telling us stories. which has not happened and will not happen.
Yeah.
But my take is very different. What we will probably see is that this is, again, history will rhyme itself this time. Technology has never taken jobs away. So technology has never made us inefficient. Technology has only made us affluent. And AI will also make us affluent, more efficient. They will make us faster, better, cheaper. And dull, only thing is that the dull, dangerous, and dirty is not something we will be doing. And that will free up more of our time. So today we work far less, and we have much more free time to be creative, to even whether in production or in consumption. We are living in a much more affluent world than our grandfathers, than our great grandfathers. And in those days, they had far more employment and we far more unemployment. And we today have a much more full employment for a longer period of time, lower interest rates. You can see that such a huge conflict that is going on at the very nerve center of oil hasn't affected the oil. Even yesterday, if you see, the markets actually claimed back all that it has lost before the war, and they are just 2%. S&P is 2% below the all-time historic highs, all-time highs, and we are in the middle of a war which has no conclusion. And if just imagine what was 1974 oil crisis, and so on and so forth. So it's nothing different. It will be same. In the initial period, there will be dislocation when people like Andy Jassy write that Amazon will lose a lot of people, and managers has to learn, or the employees has to learn how to work with shoddy teams. He is also right. But those are all transitional. And we have far better wherewithal today to manage this transition. Many professions will not remain. I mean, we are heading into a world where in the ride-hailing space, there won't be any people driving us around. And this is the reality. But that doesn't mean that those people will be jobless. They will get into new jobs, new professions, new works will come up, and that's where it will go. So that's the overall take on that. And what we try to do in terms of the second part of the question is like how we go for deal flows and all that. So we get at approximately this has been increasing over the years. Now we get almost like 300 applications in a quarter. Roughly, you can say about 100 a month. But we don't even, we try to read everything, have a look at that. But sometimes those are like 15, 20 seconds or 1 minute of email reading. We do not mostly land up investing in any of these because the way it probably works is that when people have found us out and reaching out to us for funding, we are the lamb and they are the lion. They have found us out. And they are out there to hunt for us. That's not where we land up investing. So we, on our side, we then go out and look for situations or create situations where we could be the lion and we could go out and hunt. And that's where so one part of the major part of our work is to reach out for game-changing opportunities that are being happening. And in all this, you know, there's the old proverb, machines never fight. So ideas are nothing. It is the men behind the machines. So our narrative is founder first. So from that standpoint, what we try to look for is that why is the founder doing what he's doing? How much conviction has he had in this? How much many of the same and the same of the many is he doing? How much of this is because he doesn't want to have a job and 9 to 6 job and he wants to be a founder? And how much of this that he wants to, instead, how much of this is that he wants to be influencing and impacting millions and millions of people's life to change our world? And that's why if you go to our website, you will see one of our key words there in the landing page is we look for rebel minds. But then just rebel minds will not work. Rebel minds will make you cynical. You have to also, the rebel mind will give you contrarianism. But the contrarianism, you have to have some kind of a wherewithal, some kind of a core competence to convert them. That could be even your spirit, your passion, to convert them into the contrarian ideas and make them right, make them work. So essentially, the whole idea is how do you just not be contrarian, but also you convert this. Remember, ideas are only 25% of innovation. Implementation or execution is the remaining 75. So that's what
Sure.
we try to look for. So when we even find, and in that we first start from the top, we go to the macro level. We try to see where the trends are changing. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you see in our whole investing journey, when well before ChatGPT became so much in the center stage because of OpenAI and Microsoft's investment in OpenAI, we have been investing in that space. So some of our investments, like in Palantir, like in Mapbox, like in ThoughtSpot, they are all in those spaces. They were
Okay.
well before all these transformer-led fast track happened through OpenAI and Microsoft's investment in OpenAI. Thereafter, we realized that looking through our lenses, we realized that a lot of software is being written, but there's hardly anything being written to protect these softwares. So
Mm-hmm.
cybersecurity has become one of the main themes of our investing. And that
Okay.
not only in US, it took us even to Israel to find good companies in cybersecurity. So some of the cybersecurity companies that we have invested in, like BioCatch and all that, these are Israeli companies. Today they are in America, but they all
Yeah.
started off out of Israel. So wherever the best in class is, we are going there. We have to find a way to be there. It's not about what we can find in our backyard. And
So
then by
you
the time
mentioned
we, sorry, go ahead.
you mentioned a couple of industry that you're really excited about. Like what currently excites you the most? And I mean, I get the idea from some of your talk that I would probably describe you as a pragmatist rather than um like because you describe kind of the two spectrums of AI and how AI is shaping the world. One where AI is hype and it's gonna the future looks like all machines and no humans, and then the other end who's like, no, I'm kind of not supporting AI, and you're like, no, AI is going to drive this location in the interim. AI is going to change the way that we operate and the way we think about it, but AI for us is a multiplier, is an enabling force that's going to make us more productive, more efficient, and the stats support it. I mean, like the most the profession that is most prone susceptible to dislocation from AI are coders and developers. Well, the stats currently says that there are more jobs for developers than there were before. And I mean, I use Cloud Code all the time, um, but that hasn't resulted in fewer dev jobs. It has resulted in more dev jobs because you kind of need to know how to use the tools. So you're talking about AI, you're talking about security. Like what is like like guide me through your process of seeing around corners and kind of like what are those industries that you're the most excited uh, at the moment and maybe 3 years or 5 years out.
Yeah. So essentially, what I try to look for, and I encourage my team to look for, is to look ahead of time. So,
Mm-hmm.
like we were doing AI related stuff well before ChatGPT became in the front and
Yeah.
center. Then we went into cybersecurity. After cybersecurity, we went into areas like we very soon realized that where we are heading is that the dull, dangerous, and dirty will not be done by
Yes.
humans. And so, therefore, what is we are getting into? We are getting into a robotic world where software will enable
Mm-hmm.
us in such a way that we will be doing tech-led productivity gains. And that's where,
Mm-hmm.
again, when the whole world is trying to tell us that American manufacturing is never going to happen because
Mm-hmm.
that's a generation that has lost its skills. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think so. I think
Mm-hmm.
America is even today, if you see, America is such a robust powerhouse, and it has become like this over time, is because it has been able to it is in a productivity boom. And it is
I know
essentially
what.
happening by tech-led productivity gains. So we by the time COVID started moving out or fade out, we started investing more and more into tech-led productivity gains. So anything that can remove or reduce the number of people, at the same time make it efficient, bring down the unit costs, go and hit the basics, the first principles, and alter the narratives of the first principles so that the whole dynamics change. So if in battery a particular component is in short supply and is very expensive, can we not do the battery without that component? Those kind of stuff. And how we be part of those. And those kind of investments that we had then done has really been playing off. And today what we are looking at is, we feel that the AI story is definitely in the front and center. And therefore, anything that is working to scale up AI is where we are looking at. And in that, if you see what are the first bottlenecks and how we can break those bottlenecks. Like one of our recent investment, we have not even announced it, is where we are trying to be part of a off-grid data center power supply, where there are solar and then backed up by processed batteries. And so why is that? Because there's a huge short supply. The grids are completely maxed out. Manufacturing, the generation is completely maxed out. There is no way you can, even if you generate more, you can wheel power out from the producer to the consumer. So then what you do? And then nobody's even taking your approval applications. There won't be even approvals for you. So how you make this happen? You have to go off grid. Now you might say, but that's a 3-year, 5-year, 7-year problem. Maybe, may not be. Let's assume it is a 3-year, 5-year, 7-year problem. By then, if you have the power capacity, you can actually give it back to the grid. But look at it, when you're doing it, now you bring in the technology. When you're doing it, you can actually do DC to DC. You don't need AC, DC, AC, DC, AC, DC. And each time you do AC, DC, AC, DC, alternate current, direct current, alternate current, direct current, you lose. So therefore, the same 10 megawatts that I generate, I have almost like 8 or 9 megawatts available to me, if not entire 10 megawatts for consumption. While in the other processes, I would have lost anywhere between 3 to 4 megawatts out of the 10. And that's where your margins go up. That's where your capital requirements get scaled down. That's where your borrowings or leverage comes. So this is where you go back to the first principle. You try to break down where are the bottlenecks and how we remove those bottlenecks. And that's what we look at. And this is where we go for these founders. And that's where we try to interview these founders to figure out, why are they doing this? Do they even have any skill sets to do this? Like we have some very early investments in space. And those days, like, the only thing we believed was the competence, the circle of competence of the founders. They were people from SpaceX. They have done this. They have survived the SpaceX's heat and the blast and the fire for 9 long years before they came out and started. And those days, SpaceX was in oblivion. Nobody believed in SpaceX. SpaceX was verge of bankruptcy. It's not the SpaceX that we are. It's going to be the historic. It is to create history by being the biggest IPO of humanity. So those were the days when we had invested in them. Those were the days we have invested in people who came out from. And this is again another matrix we follow very carefully. It's like, germination of seeds. If you are part of a disruptive startup, whatever the disruptive startup does or wherever it goes, that's beside the point. If there are 100 people who worked for that startup and even 50 people come out later on, it's likely that if not the whole 50, at least 40 or 50 out of those 50 will be doing their own startups, and each one of them will be doing something which is really pushing the frontiers. It's not about many of the same. It's not about retiring rich. It's not about being called as a founder. It's all about how can I impact millions of lives? How can I change our world? How can I create that $0 billion market, the market that did not exist? How can I be the next Magnificent Seven? And that's where I got the name for my enterprise, Decacorn, because we are looking for decacorns and much beyond decacorn. We're looking for after decacorn, you will list. After listing, you will become a $1 billion company, then $1 trillion company.
Yeah.
So today we have two portfolio companies who are in S&P 500 and we haven't sold them. And remember, in our industry, we are not allowed to buy from the market. So none of these have been bought from the market. We
Hmm.
found them early, and somehow maybe I didn't have a choice. Just like I that day as a CPA, I had to learn coding 30 years back. We sat there. We went through the COVID. They came down. They
Hmm.
retracted. They came out to the bare bones, and then
Yep.
uh, they became top quartile. So that's how
Well,
we go for it.
and it makes sense. I mean, when you invest based on first principles, it's easy to stick to your conviction and believe that your convictions are right because you're not investing in the hype cycle. You're investing in something that fundamentally drives or has value. I mean, you mentioned data centers. We're working on a couple of projects that they're actually solar based with battery augmentation, and so they're self-contained, connected to the grid. And we're working with a partner in Germany that allows us to build a data center in under 3 months. But it's all because of portability. If you have the solar farm ready with the batteries behind the solar panels, building out the data center is you can use portable units, right? Like it's not that hard, but it's all based on those first principles. Being like, um, you're probably not familiar, but in Canada, like our most famous hockey player was Wayne Gretzky, and so Wayne Gretzky has a saying that like you don't skate to where the puck is, you skate to where the puck is going, the hockey puck. And it's the same thing. If you focus on kind of like where the future is, what's shaping the future, how can you unlock that future? You're most likely to be successful. You might not get it all perfectly right, but those first principles are a good guiding light.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
spot on. Yeah.
And so with what's next for you? Like what are you planning to stay in Singapore, invest from Singapore? If all of your investments are in the US, how do you deal with your founders? What kind of what's your relationship with them? Um, this what does Singapore provides as an opportunity in terms of that's not available to, I don't know, companies in India or a company in China?
Yeah. So if you see the whole narrative is, although I'm based in Singapore, but I travel uh, almost 3 to 4 times to wherever the investment opportunities for us are, and look for these companies, meet up with these founders, and that's where we. Are you there? Yeah, I think you froze.
I'm
Max,
back.
are you there? Yeah. Okay.
I
So
am here.
yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, Singapore is an anchor. It's a great place to be. It's a great place to do business. Probably there are very few places in the world which can compete with Singapore in terms of the ease and convenience of doing business. And it gives me as it's like the bridge of the ship. It gives me a 360-degree view. I can go anywhere. I can move easily and can move my capital. I can invest my capital. It's a FATF. It's a top quartile in terms of KYC due diligence place. Therefore, for me to invest in other countries is a breeze. So there are several advantages for being here. But then, as I said, that it is one life. Either you use
Hmm.
it or you lose it. So you have to go for the best in class wherever they are. I mean, even if you look at and that's what it takes us to places like US, where we are in constant touch with our investors, the
Hmm.
companies that we have invested in, as well as we have investments in Latin America. We have investments in there could be Delaware C corps, but their businesses touches lives of or changes or touches lives of millions of people in Africa. So those kind of businesses we are all part of. And what we are looking from here, as you said, what's next is uh, to be in to be able to be in a right place and at the right time to join the journey of some outstanding founders who are using technology to make these disruptive innovations happen from the core. Like
Yeah.
we are talking when we're talking about data center, and we will wait when once we find out where we are or figure out that this is where we want to go next. We will wait
Yeah.
for the right opportunities to surface. It may take us several years, but we will not be in a haste. Like for example, we are a strong believer that data centers in space, people will laugh at us. The way they used to laugh at when somebody said, I can take the rocket back in the same place where I launched it
Yeah.
from many
Yeah.
years back. And today, these are the people who are beelining to join his IPO and giving him any valuation and every valuation that he will ask for. So like that, we strongly believe that again, with going back to the grain, contrarian yet right, uh,
Yeah.
we may still require some kind of a first principle innovation or
Yeah.
breakthrough, but data centers in space is a thing to be. So we are even looking for opportunities like those, how to
Okay.
participate in them, and over time, how we count whether we are doing better or same or worse is that uh, when we are on a hunt, we are able to figure out or to spot uh, say maybe 20, 30, 40 opportunities, and we try to speak to them. Each time we find these clusters. Earlier days, if we had have reached out and we would have asked for a conversation, we would not have got much of a response. Even if we have been able to have 5 conversations, 1 or 2 will take our money. So over the
Hmm.
years, what has really happened is that we are getting far more conversations, and therefore we are able to give money to more people
Yeah.
than more of these outstanding founders than before. So that's a very huge compliment or a feather in the cap that I carry with me. That from 2 out of 5, we are today probably at 4 out of 5. We may never get into 5 out of 5 for several reasons, and those could be good
Yeah.
also. But at the same time, that's where we are looking for, and we want to continue our journey in these, and where we could be part of uh, high impact uh, mm, $0 billion market creation opportunities that changes our world, that affects lives of millions of people, creates greater abundance for the entire humanity. Similar ways, we are a very strong believer. I don't know whether I'll see in my lifetime, but we will definitely become a multiplanetary species.
Interesting. And so, Debneel, I just want to double click on.
Yeah. And
I
in
just want
this,
to
we
double
see
click.
a very different analogy.
Interesting. So I want to double click on something that you said. I mean, what you said when you first started, your opportunity to invest was 2 out of 5. Now it's 4 out of 5. What has driven the biggest change in terms of like? I mean, I'm assuming the track record and things like that. But what has made the biggest difference in terms of now founders being interested in taking your check size? Is it because it's never just about the money. So walk me through kind of like what's made it the biggest difference for you in terms of the companies that you were able to invest in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the biggest difference is that how much knowing more, doing more, and expecting less.
Yeah.
What I mean by that, it's not about track record. Nobody is interested in your track record. You may have a great track record. Nobody even know when did you buy, what did you buy, what price did you buy, what where you are selling. Yeah, these things help, but they don't tilt the scale in your favor. They can move the needle a few basis points. So what really
Mm-hmm.
matters is the conversation. When you are talking to people, when you are talking to these founders, how how engaged are you? How much you are
Mm-hmm.
able to ask them questions that they haven't heard from other investors?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You get what I mean? When
Yeah.
you stand out as an investor, again, you have to be a different type of investor, where the founders do not see you as an investor. They rather feel, Ari, this is another operator, another builder, another coder. He's talking like me. He's asking me questions which are right up my alley, and these are like either they are sweet spots or they are like things that keeps me awake at night. So that's where they get very convinced, and then they decide to take your money. There have been instances recently where people have told us, we have been trying to reach them for 2 months. They never even replied the emails. And then when we finally somehow land up meeting them, coincidentally, and then we carry out a conversation, they say, hey, guys, are you available today evening for a beer?
Yeah.
Then we say, then they ask us, do you have a minimum check size or something? I am oversubscribed. I say, yeah, we know oversubscribed. So even if I have a minimum check size, how does it matter? You're oversubscribed. He said, no, I will back off some of the investors. I want you guys on my cap table. So those are like music to our ears. So this can only happen when you are asking questions which are right up their alley, which is like really make them salivate. So that's where, how will you ask these questions? You are not a fortune teller, neither a magician. So you have to really know the inside, outside of their industry. You have to be very passionate about your investing narrative. Why you want to do, if you want to do, say, for example, data centers in space, why you want to do it? You must really know some things other investors don't know. And mostly in the investing world, we are also lucky because most investors follow others. Crowded space, herd. They just say, oh, because my friend did it, I want to do it. And then because the friend is a heavyweight, he says, you have to take his money. Or maybe I am a heavyweight, so I make sure that if you go back to Power Law, there's a very nice chapter there, Sebastian writes about, where some people did not even give money to Steve Jobs and said that who is, and in fact called up the guy who has sent him. So why did you send him to me? He gone to some guru in India and he probably hasn't taken bath for 1 month. And he was giving some crappy ideas. You just wasted my time. But to Steve Jobs, being a lip service, San Francisco people are very nice on the face. So he just referred him to somebody else. And the guy he referred him, he wrote him a check. And then after a couple of years, this guy who shoot him off realizes that he has missed a good case. So he goes back to the person he has referred and said, Rick, I referred him to you, you wrote a check, now it's your job to get me in his cap table. So this is how people go to people's cap table.
Yeah.
And he got into Jobs' cap table. And I'm not saying this. These are all in the book. You can go and read about it.
Yeah.
So this is how the world works. And founders don't like this. I'm sure Jobs has always remembered that guy. I mean, there's a fantastic narrative about Zuckerberg goes to one of the biggest Bay Area investors because they have been after Zuckerberg for almost a year. And he comes late to the meeting. Every partner is waiting. And his first slide says why you should not invest in his book. First slide.
Yeah.
These are like rebukes that, founders give to these investors. And because this herd mentality is all there, we also get when you ask something very solid, which is literally up their alley, it's on their sweet spot, you get your way through. And they might even ask me, what else other than money? Instead of saying, oh, I will give you contacts, I will link you up with this guy, that guy. They said, maybe once you write your codes, before you ship them, we can take a quick sneak peek and tell you what are give you a laundry list of things that you need to fix. That's like somebody from the other side of the counter. This is something I learned very early in my career, that when you are writing your code, you will never find the mistake that is that's the bug, where the bug is. It's somebody else in the essay. Like when you read your essay after 5 times, 15 times, now you cannot improve on the essay. Somebody else has to come and improve your essay. The same thing.
The need for editors. I mean, if I can summarize kind of your perspective, the goal is to be additive, drive value for companies. And when they feel, when they sense this, when they see this, the conviction becomes stronger because they know that you're not just helping with money, you're helping in other ways. Okay. What from your perspective?
Also, you have to do it in a way which is contrarian, which others are not doing. Nobody is offering him this service. Nobody is
Mhm.
asking him those. In fact, we measure our success in a call as to how many
Yep.
times founders say, "Oh, that's a great question."
Yep.
If he never says, if he says 3 times, probably we got 30
The
out of
same question.
100.
Yeah.
When he says, "Oh,
And
that's a great question," and if he
so
says
what
none of
is
the time, badly. So you have to be different. So for the basic of this is that in everything that you want to do, again, go back to that crowded space, no value. So you have to be contrarian. What everybody is giving, don't give that. If
Mhm.
you can't give something new, something different, you will not get a fast track. If you can give, the gates will
Yeah.
open for you. That's the
So
more important thing.
from a Decacorn perspective, what are the things that you're doing that maybe are not standard or common to the investment industry?
So first of all, every investment industry tries to do 100-mile radius of where they are. We don't try to do, as I explained.
Mhm.
Second is they try to, because they think they have, because they are writing check, they feel they know, and they want to shepherd the founders.
Mhm.
We don't. In fact, we don't like cap tables where there are investors who are trying to shepherd the founders. If we can shepherd our founders just because we were successful in our founding journeys, then we should do the next startup and not invest in startup.
Yeah.
The third thing we try to do is that not go after founders who are there to become a founder, who are doing many of the same and the same of the many. They don't want a 9 to 6 job.
Yeah.
So we try to figure out, why are you doing what you are doing? Why are you here? So the fourth thing we try to see is that, does this person or does this team or the founder, the co-founders, they have the wherewithal, tenacity, maybe even the domain of competence to even pull
Mhm.
this out. And if they can even achieve 20% or 30% of what they are trying to do, will that make it a big story? Will
Yeah.
that make it high impact? Will it affect and change and influence many people's life?
Mhm.
So these are the few things which, in the normal scheme of things, we do not, others don't do. Similarly, like we
Yeah.
do not take, at the very beginning, we do not take monies that can constrain us. Monies
Mm.
in our own cap table. We don't take investors who will try to tell us where to invest,
Yeah.
who are trying to shepherd us. So we want to be unconstrained managers. So like this, there are at least about, as I talked about 5-6 of these. Then democratize access to people who cannot invest. I'm an
Mhm.
accredited investor, you are an accredited investor, but most people like you and me who are managers, C-levels, managers in Fortune 500s or large multinationals, or C-levels in small, medium businesses, they have the money, but they do not have the time. They do not have the
Mhm.
wherewithal. They want to learn. So you take money from people who put return as third or the last criteria. The first
Mhm.
criteria is, can this be my lifetime ringside view, fireside chat to the
Yeah.
world that is changing so fast that I am going to be decimated? My wealth and my assets are going to be decimated. And then secondly, if can, so that can I therefore put a small amount of money that I can afford,
Yeah.
and then can have an outstanding or outcome by in terms of multiples, because we are looking for long playbooks. But for that, these investors has to be extremely patient. It has to be patient capital, because large outcomes do not come overnight, and large outcomes do not come over small capitals overnight. So you have to give it the time. On one
Yeah.
side, if you see, private investing has been compressing. I mean, just imagine, if I'm not mistaken, Amazon in 1997 went for IPO at a valuation about 300 million.
Yeah.
300 million. And today we are what, 25, 26, 29, 30 years down the road. SpaceX is going for 1.75 trillion. How many times,
Yeah.
man? Just
Yeah.
work that out. So this is where people are staying in the private. So if you today are going in at SpaceX at 1.75 trillion, you have to wait another 20 years for SpaceX to give you anything significant.
Yeah.
Yet they have given, if you look at Tesla, the same conglomerate, the same first
Founder.
principles,
Yeah.
same founder. So it has given probably nearly 400 times since its IPO. But you have to stay through. During this time, Toyota has left them and gone. Toyota invested 50 million in their IPO. At 480 million in 3 years or 4 years later, they went out of it. And today their business is most impaired by Tesla. By 2019, Tesla was on the verge of bankruptcy. So these bankruptcy incidences will come many times. You have to still have the balls of steel and stay out there. Because each time there is a storm and there's a hurricane and you get out of it, you have lost it. You will never be able to get back. So this is what we basically try for. And that's where, these 5-6 areas where we are completely different from the rest of our peers.
So can I infer, Debneel, then that you have more investors than a standard VC fund, and that your life of a fund is longer because you're looking for, you said it yourself, you want to democratize access, you want to provide people with access to this opportunity. You also talked about not taking institutional money. You talked about patient capital. So I'm kind of getting a sense for how you are thinking about the fund and how you've constructed it.
Yeah, absolutely. But then we are fortunate the regulation requires us to take only accredited investor money. And we also have a minimum ticket size. It's not that we have many, but what we have done is that we have raised very little capital. This is again, we are very different. We are not one who looks for creating new funds every 3 years. And to be very honest, we are not the one who have looked for a long fund life. Again, regulation has been very helpful to us. And more importantly, we have learned from our larger, bigger peers who have figured this out. And if you see today, the trend in Silicon Valley for the big funds is to create evergreen funds where there is no terminal life. Because if you have a terminal life, you're end of it. You are working for your terminal life. Because nobody, even God doesn't know whether by the 10-year or the 12-year, your investments are all lemons, or are they hit to the fence, or they are home runs, or they are jackpots.
So on that, I mean, definitely evergreen fund have are definitely increasing in popularity. We're constantly being approached to even set up our own evergreen fund. Like the questions that we have, and we're trying to determine how to structure this is like, how do you provide investors with on ramps and off ramps? Do you lock in the investment for a period of time? How do you provide liquidity? Because I mean, the challenge that we're currently facing, particularly in the private equity, is like, okay, well, that's great. I'm getting some distributions, but like, when can I get my paid up capital back? Or so, walk me through kind of your thinking in terms of the kind of the change or the shift towards an evergreen fund. Because I agree, having a life, like having a fund with a life of 7 years or 9 years, like it forces you to take actions that if you're a normal investor, you wouldn't necessarily take, because they may not be the best action for the investment.
True. So therefore, we start from best action for investment, and we are lucky again to see through this predicament right at the beginning. So we have been very careful in choosing our LPs. There have been many occasions where we have refused real quality money just because they were looking for the time and the quantity of return. So as I said, one has to be aligned first, is that this is a lifetime lesson to understand and know how not to get decimated. Like, for example, what I just explained about having an offline or off-grid data center, centers in space. right from the time like we have invested in SpaceX when SpaceX managed to take the rocket back. That's the inflection point. And then we stayed on. So people who doesn't want to stay on, and here we have our skin in the game. We are our own. We are also investors. If we can stay on, why can other? And because we are taking a very small, minuscule part of somebody's net worth.
Yeah.
We make sure that nobody puts 1-2% more than 1-2% of their net worth here. If they cannot forget about this money and they need liquidity, then in that case, this is not for them. Go to the stock market. Every day liquidity is there. Be a day trader, swing trader. Buy in the morning, sell in the evening. Go. There's so many products, so many things available. And this we documented and in our onboarding agreements, and this has been shared and agreed by our investors.
Yeah.
And then there are still scenarios where people would like to look for exits. Then they have to, looking at our portfolio, at our work, there will be new investors who are willing to join in. So since we don't take money, new investors can only get a play through secondaries. And therefore somebody has to sell. But then this new investor also doesn't know how long he has to wait. And also he doesn't know whether he will get his capital back. He may lose his entire capital, including the premium he is paying to the seller, if any. So therefore, the seller has to sell for a far lower price than maybe what the NAVs will produce. It's not a mutual fund of listed securities of airline companies and automobile companies and banks and listed securities that you will sell at an NAV.
Yeah.
So essentially make sure that, so don't take money from people who is not aligned with you.
Yeah.
And make sure that they understand, they sign, they read, sign, agree.
Yeah, I mean, good
there
fences.
will be challenges, but then those are all part of the journey. At some point, we do not know whether at the 5-year, 7-year, 10-year, 12-year, you will again get lucky, and some of your investments will be able to return the whole fund.
Of course.
So sell it and return everyone. You have to remember the larger ones never make much noise. It is the smaller ones who makes the most noise.
Very true.
So you have to let them go. You need to have some kind of a foreclosing mechanism where you have the ability to foreclose. So you have a call option rather than a put option.
Yeah, makes sense.
And this again helps regulation. Regulation helps us, and that's where you were asking about Singapore. Singapore has got, I would say, one of the most friendliest regulation I have seen in the entire world. And to this, Dubai and all does not even come close.
Interesting.
They may try to compete with Singapore, but they are nowhere close.
Yeah. I mean, business climate
sure
investment.
They will get there too, because everybody's narrative is changing. They will also get it. They are also going to come up, and more you are disrupted. You will be able to pick up the threads and change the narrative faster and make it smoother. So there are so many benefits that the time and the tide has given us, and we have been only lucky to pick them up, to be anchored at one place and be able to invest in where it matters, and so on and so forth.
Amazing. I know we're timed, Debneel, but if somebody wants to get in touch with you, if somebody wants to follow your work or pitch your investment, what's the best way to do so?
Okay, so I have my LinkedIn where I post quite regularly. People can join us there, as well as in our website. It's a short, crisp website. You can reach out to us by writing at the website. If you and that's where most of the people reach out to us, particularly the people who are seeking for funding. They send their decks through the website. And it's not possible for us to reach out. As we said, we get almost 300 applications in a quarter. So we reach out to ones where we feel that there is substance.
Fit.
Often it may not be from investing standpoint, it could be even from learning standpoint, because we are
Mhm.
constantly learning. I mean, there's a single motivation for us every day is that we have to be you have to be constantly curious, and by being constantly curious we are learning every day. So we try to make us we evaluate our each day by trying to figure out, had we learned something new today, so that I can go to bed tonight and come wake up tomorrow morning wiser. So if you are constantly learning, there is a we believe there's a far high chance that we will not fall in that trap where we feel that yesterday's rule will work for tomorrow's or problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good
Yeah.
wisdom, good insights, Debneel Mukherjee. Absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast and for you to share your view and perspective on where the world is heading and how to best position yourself, primarily on first principles, kind of going back to the basics, like what makes sense from a long-term perspective. Thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thank you, Max. Thanks for hosting me. It was
My
really
pleasure.
nice talking to you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.